Hello, everybody. This is Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films, and I try to actually show the films at the same time every day. I did not do that on Tuesday, and I apologize. I uploaded it and the show, and then premiered it, and forgot that. I mean, at least it wasn't like set to midnight, I guess. So sorry about that. Hopefully this will air when it's supposed to air, which is 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time during lunch. Anyways, I am in Baltimore, Maryland at a film conference, the Association of Moving Image Archivists. And so there was just a reception that I was at. And so what I hope to do tomorrow, because it is Tuesday night, even though you're watching this on Wednesday, what I hope to do is go and meet some people and show you some people and record people for the next show that we're doing. But in the meantime, I had dinner with two people from the National Archives. And so these films are from the National Archives. So what we're going to watch tonight, today, this morning, I don't know what time it is. The first film is going to be called Transportation USA. The next film is called Collar, and it's about a square dance collar. And then finally, Denver Pyle talks to us about wild Mustangs in the film Mustang Managing a Misfit. Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, hit the thumbs up. We love your comments. I'm happy that people were commenting, even though it was an hour early, and they were probably mostly saying, "Hey, what's going on? It's an hour early." But I appreciate that, and so thank you for your patience with me traveling and doing this show. But I hope to see you soon. Everybody, hit the thumbs up, hit the like button, subscribe. Those are great ways to support us. We're almost at 200,000 subscribers. So please, if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Make that last big push. I think in the next 2 days, we'll hit 200,000. Also, we will be coming up on our 1,500th episode. So we've been doing 1,500 episodes. And so that's very exciting. And I'm happy I'll be here doing it, but we'll try to do something special. So anyways, thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you soon. Enjoy.
partners, body corners. Will you Alabama left your corner? And you walk right by your own right hand, turn your right hand, lady, and the left hand, turn your partner. Little lady's right hand the star, 3/4 round the land. Alabama left your corner, here we go with the right and left grand. Well, there's smoke on the water, on the land and the sea. Well, the right hand turn your partner around, and then you go back 3. It's a left and a right, and a left hand turn once and a half around. Now box the net with your own girl, and then we'll settle down. Will the 2 head couples forward up to the middle and back right out. You pass through and separate, go round the outside roundabout, get on back home and meet your own girl. By your own, don't touch. Right hand, turn your right hand, lady. Left hand, turn your partner. Men, the right hand star. 3/4 round the land. Alabama left your corner last time. Right and left grand. There'll be smoke on the water, on the land and sea. Oh, right hand, turn your partner around, and then you go back 3. It's a haw, gee, haw. Turn once and a half around. Now box it out with your own girl, and then we'll settle down. Hey! Tomorrow night is a 7:30 to 10:30, if I recall correctly. Is it? I don't know. Ask Russ and Ellen. They know better than I do.
Right, you got a summer schedule?
Not yet. Should have it, let's see. Should have it 2 weeks from tonight. Everybody back home to place. Here's a tune. I think it came from Ireland originally, but it dates way back to the days of the American Revolution. Old, famous fiddle tune called Soldier's Joy. Will you bow to your partners, then you bow to your corners. All join hands in a great big ring, in a circle to the left, and circle to the left, go around the hall. Halfway around and you done gone wrong, circle to the right, go the other way along. Circle to the right till you get back home. Everybody swing your own, swing with your partner, swing her right around. Now turn to the corner, Alabama the left to the corner girl. Right hand to your partner, grand right and left, go a-walking down the line. You take yours and I'll take mine. Promenade your partner 2 by 2 and promenade back home with you. Now couple 1, bow to your partner, give her a swing her right around. 1, separate, go round, the lady go right and the gent go left and pass the partner by. Really keep on walking and around, go pass her again when you get home and by your corner stand. 2 lines of 3, 6 to the middle and the back you march. Now 6 to the middle and you build an arch in the middle of the floor and the lonesome couple tunnel through. Down the middle and you swing her right around. Swing that lady and you don't fall down. Tunnel back as you done before. Back round the center once more. 6 back out again. Go forward 6 to a do-si-do in the middle of the hall. Go back to back. Everybody swing with your partners, all swing your girl up. Now turn to the corner, lady. Alabama left with the corner. Right hand to your partner, left to the next one, grand, right and left. Hand over hand, go round the set. Meet your lady and meet your date and promenade and promenade. Now couple 2, bow to your partner, give her a swing, round and round with a pretty little thing. And 2, you separate, go round. Lady go right, the gent go round, and you pass your partner when you meet. Keep on walking on a one-way street, pass her again and by your corner stand. 2 lines of 3, 6 to the middle, in the back you'll march. Now 6 to the middle, and you build an arch in the middle of the hall, and the lonesome pair tunnel right through, right across the square. Swing the lady when you get there. Now tunnel back, go down the middle as you done before. 6 back up once more. Go forward 6 and do-si-do in the middle, go back to back. Everybody swing your partner when you're through. Swing her right around is what you do. Turn to the corner, Alabama left with the corners all up. Right hand to your partner, grand, right and left, go a-walking and you don't be slow. Promenade when you meet your own and promenade your partner home. Then it's couple number 4. Bow to your partner, swing a little more. Swing her right around, and when you're through, separate around the outside two. Lady go right and the gent go left. Then you pass your partner right on by. Now pass her once again, and by your corner stand up. 2 lines of 3, 6 to the middle, and the back you'll march. 6 to the middle and build an arch in the middle of the hall. The lonesome couple tunnel through down the middle and swing her right around. Now tunnel back, go down the middle as you did before. And 6 back up once more. Go forward 6 again, do a do-si-do in the middle of the floor, go back to back. Everybody swing your partners all. Now turn to the corner, allemande left, right hand to your partner, charge, grand, right and left, go round. When you meet your own, promenade your partner home, promenade them 2 by 2, right on home with you. Now turn to the corner, allemande left with the corners all, and bow to your partners all, bow to the corners all. There's bread and cheese upon the shelf, if you want any more, go call it yourself. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks very much. Take a rest, and we have 3 folk dances, or pseudo-folk dances, or whatever you want to call them. The first is the Mexican folk dance La Raspa, known to some...
When I got out of high school, I started doing work for Texas Jim Robertson, country singer with the RCA label in those days. One night when Jim wasn't working, and hence neither was I, we went out to a square dance. As it happened, the leader of the band that night had a fight with his caller for being drunk on the job. That meant absolutely soused, because in rural areas they didn't figure you could call until you're half loaded. So they came over to me, and knowing I did a little entertainment, said, "Could you call a square dance?" I said, "I think so." And I did. Nobody threw anything. That was it. That was the beginning of my calling career. I was born in Newburgh, New York, but I spent many of my early years up in the Adirondack Mountains of New York State. We came down here to Westchester while I was still in grade school and went through my high school years, specifically in New Rochelle. The background as far as my knowledge of square dancing goes, I grew up with it. I don't remember learning to square dance per se. It just was the thing we did on a Saturday night. One of the interesting things about square dancing today, people of all walks of life get together, and there's almost a tacit understanding that they're there for the common goal of enjoying themselves. They don't dig into each other's backgrounds or what do you do or what kind of a job do you have. I think maybe this is sort of an outgrowth of the re-interest in square dancing, which is pretty traceable to the World War II years, when the service club directors and the social club directors of the Army bases instituted square dancing. Everybody was out of uniform for the square dance. There'd be majors and colonels dancing with privates. And for that couple of hours of the square dance, rank was thrown away completely. Remember what I said about taking good, firm strides. Never mind going along like this. Okay.
All right, let's do it again, starting with the second half of the dance.
Number one, they're motivated to come square dancing for the same reason some people are motivated to go bowling or take up ceramics, or it's a form of leisure time activity. Hopefully, they're interested in American history, and after all, square dancing is one of the purely American folk pastimes.
On his right, on the outside. On his right, on the outside. Okay. That's also the hardest part, if that is any consolation to you. 4 slides to the man's left. On the third one, he'll twirl his lady with his left hand. Ready? It's 1 and 2, twirl, and 4. And then do it the other way. Go. Slide. Twirl with your right hand, men. 3 and 4. Good. Let's do that part again.
Everybody swing, your partners all. Don't you fuss, don't you holler. Never trust that square dance caller. Now turn to the corner, allemande left to the corner. On the old left hand, a partner right. It's a right on left, grand right on left. Go down the track. When you meet your own, do a right hand, turn around, go the other way back. A grand left and right. said the little red rooster to the little red hen. Let's turn right around and try it again. Grin, bottom left, go the right way around. Hand over hand, and you don't fall down. Ace of diamonds, jack of spades, and you meet your own and promenade.
The type of square dancing done today is an outgrowth of the traditional patterns. It's become much more complicated, much more challenging, whereas it is nowhere near as energetic as it used to be in the old world dances.
See you bow to your corners. All join hands in a ring and circle to the left, go around the ring. Gonna circle to the left, go around. Now drop your hands, go the other way back in single file. Girls keep walking on the inside track. Men step out, go the other way back and pass your partner once. When you meet her again, do a do-si-do. And then you swing your partner, swing and whirl. Everybody, Alaman left with your corner.
I have a rough idea in the back of my mind, not so much how far they're going to progress, but I do have a plan as to the relationship of the figures that I teach. There are certain combinations of figures that lead logically from one to another.
Right hand two, left hand stop.
I don't aim to bring them to a given state of capability by the end of that period of time. I have no goal other than to just let them dance and have fun.
Pull them in, go forward, pass through, separate, go around behind one lady and the crowd right in, forward, 8 and back again. Right lady high, the left lady under, cross the girls all four, men to the middle and you come on back. Men go forward, pass through, separate, go around behind one lady and the crowd right in, come forward, 8 and back. Right lady high, the left lady under, cross the girls one more time.
Turn her under.
Ladies walk forward. This is the Alamandar star. All right, stop.
When we say a square dance today, people are going to go out to a square dance. They may be exposed to dances other than square dancing, including dances done in lines like the Virginia Reel, dances done in a big circle like the Southern running sets, even some folk dances where a gentleman would have 2 girls for a partner or a lady would have 2 men for a partner.
On this call, shoot the star. Turn this lady by the left. Go around her. Here comes your own. Promenade back home to place. that was the Ball of Yarn. Hope you enjoyed yourselves. Hope we didn't lose anybody out there. Good night, everybody. See you again.
I believe that the government sponsoring this wild horse stunt, the adoption program, is kind of ridiculous.
Wild horses need to be free, and that's why people respond to them, because we all need to be free.
I feel it would be most unwise for the government to spend money on wild horses.
If people don't take care of wild horses, they're just going to eat themselves out of house and home.
It seems to me that with all the hungry people we have in the world these days, that would be much more prudent to be spending that money on taking care of feeding them than it is to spend it on taking care of wild horses.
It would really be neat to have a wild horse for a friend.
Oh, hello. I'm Denver Pyle. You know, when I was a little boy growing up on the high plains of eastern Colorado, I walked in back of many of these horses just like old Sierra here, to a plow, riding a harrow. And I'm sure that if we looked way down deep inside of old Sierra here, we might find a drop, 2 drops, or if he's lucky, many drops of that noble, courageous blood of the Mustang. You know, since Western man touched the shores of America, that noble animal, the horse, has been his constant companion and servant. The first horses known to Western man were the tough mounts of the Spanish conquistadores. And for that reason, they've been considered interlopers, aliens from a foreign soil. But those who condemn the horse for his alien status are unaware that it was North America that actually gave this amazing creature to the world before its brief disappearance from the continent. Following his reestablishment, descendants of the horse were joined by other bloodlines. These prized animals were sold, traded, and stolen. But the horse was an independent species, often inclined to run away from his keepers. And in so doing, he confiscated small bands of mares and herded them to his wilderness hideaway. Because of this, he is frequently referred to as an outlaw or a misfit. And those that escaped or were turned loose for economic reasons were soon to be called Mustangs, which is a derivation of the Spanish word mustano, meaning wild. By the turn of the 20th century, the American Mustang numbered about 2 million in 10 western states. The next 70 years saw wild horses decline to about, well, 19,000 animals. Hundreds of thousands of Mustangs were captured to serve as mounts in the Boer War and in World War I. And then more hundreds of thousands were captured for chicken feed, dog food, hides, fertilizer, even table food for the international market. But Americans were soon to raise a cry of protest. The beauty of the wild and free-roaming Mustangs had captured the hearts and the imagination of a nation demanding restoration of this tonic of the wilderness. In 1971, the Wild Free-Roaming Horse and Burro Act was passed to preserve the American Mustang and the wild burro in their roles as living symbols of our historic and pioneer Western spirit. No longer could the wild Mustang be harassed, captured, or destroyed for commercial purposes, or for any other purpose as far as that goes. The Act directed the Bureau of Land Management and the Forest Service to control the Mustang population in order to maintain an ecological balance among horses, wildlife, cattle, and habitat. To maintain an equitable balance, the law permitted the humane disposition of excess animals, providing no commercial use is made of the carcasses. The Act also provided for the private care of horses and burros by interested persons. This alternative is considered the most humane by both agencies. But the law fell short of providing efficient means to accomplish its objectives, and preservation of the horse allowed an unforeseeable problem to tower on the horizon: overpopulation. Today, the population of the American Mustang has gone from maybe 19,000 animals to about 80,000 animals in the 10 western states. Combined with protection, his growth has escalated for several reasons: a high reproduction rate, the fact that they have few natural predators, and an upward adjustment in population numbers due to more frequent and accurate inventories by the protection agencies. Since 1976, overpopulation has led to serious deterioration of our western range, and competition among several species has raised its ugly head. Unchecked, the horse populations overconsumed forage, damaged wildlife habitat, and accelerated erosion. The horse threatened the economic stability of many western communities dependent on livestock grazing. If left unattended, the horse would outlive all species. And while grisly scenes like these might seem a blessing in disguise to some people, many more people are repulsed by such large die-offs. To many,
epidemic death by starvation due to heavy snows and extended drought are both inhumane and unnatural.
Over the past few years, amendments to the Wild Horse and Burro Act have given both agencies tools with which to help resolve the problem of overpopulation.
In California and elsewhere, both agencies are using the helicopter to round up excess animals. The helicopter has replaced the man on horseback method of capture used in the past, and it's giving the land managers the edge over problems on the Modoc National Forest. This is the Devil's Garden Plateau. It's a continuous high desert tableland in northeastern California on the Modoc National Forest. Here too, the horse was winning the race for survival. But what did he win? While his numbers slowly replaced those of other large animals, his success could be his own undoing. For he is literally eating himself out of house and home. Bill Britton is the Forest Range Management Officer. His concern for the horse and the deteriorating condition of the range has led the Modoc National Forest into a cooperative capture and adoption program with the professional horse management specialists of the BLM from nearby Susanville.
We've got a problem on the Modoc where our horse herd has gone from about 300 head in 1971 to about 1,000 head in 1978. The herd is increasing approximately 20% a year. We've been using men on horsebacks and running the horses into permanent traps, but we weren't even keeping up with the annual colt increase.
We've got some studies that pretty well indicate that there's quite a competition between the horses and the pronghorn antelope up on the garden. Two of the subherds are producing 50 kids a year, and the one that runs on the garden is producing 6 kids per 100 does per year. The horses do compete for forage and just living space with other animals. Pronghorns are a big concern, and there may be a competition with the deer. There's quite a few ranches in the local area that are dependent on the National Forest for a portion of their season-long grazing operation. We have a system of permits that allows ranchers to graze on the National Forest for a certain fee. As far as they're concerned, the horses are in direct competition with their ability to make a livelihood. And they can see if the horse numbers get too great that they're going to be moved off of the range. If we were to allow the horse numbers to continue to expand, we'd be making a real impact on the local economy by removing cattle from the National Forest lands. Nationally now, there's a lot of support to perpetuate wild horse herds on federal lands to the exclusion of all other uses. Part of our job is to come up with a mix where you've got some horses and some cows. Some people have suggested that we go out and do things like shoot all the studs or round up a bunch of horses and put them in a pen and shoot them, or put them in a trench and shoot them. Yeah, if you interpret the letter of the law, we do have the authority to do that.
But killing horses is not positive management. It's a last resort. It's also a waste. It would be like cutting down trees and leaving them to rot. That's why we choose other alternatives that the law allows us to, such as the horse adoption program. Horse herds have to be managed. If they're not, their populations continue to expand to the detriment of other resource values that we're trying to protect.
And now, I'd like to have you meet Gene Nunn. He's the wild horse specialist for the Bureau of Land Management.
The helicopter has turned out to be the greatest tool that we have in gathering horses. We haven't found that it's had any adverse effect on horses. They respect it, but they aren't deathly afraid of it. But even with the helicopter, if the horses don't want to go somewhere, you aren't going to put them there. We try to have enough corrals at our trap so that we can keep all the bunches separate that we gather in a day, We try not to have to mix any because then that causes stud fights and whatnot at the trap, and all they're going to do is cripple themselves or knock the fence down or something. So we try to keep them all separate.
In 1976, the Bureau of Land Management came up with the Adopt a Horse program as an alternative to having those excess Mustangs destroyed.
Since the program began, over 14,000 animals have been taken off the western ranges. More than 12,000 have been adopted by qualifying foster parents who, through cooperative agreements with the Bureau, promised humane care for their animals. After a year of custody and proof of good care, the adoptee can have title to the animal. From this center near Susanville, over 1,400 horses have been placed in the private care of American families from California to Florida. It serves as a holding facility and distribution center. Here, the animals chosen for adoption are processed. Vital data and distinctive markings are recorded. Blood tests for infectious anemia are taken from the horses adopted to other states.
Anybody that has ever wanted a horse has got an opportunity to do so here, and I wish they'd really take advantage of it because there's good horses to be had, and we'd sure like to get them to them.
And processing the wild horse for adoption is a real-life drama, a reenactment of our romantic past. The horses are branded with a freeze mark that changes the pigmentation of the hair rather than leaving a scar on the hide. Each animal is handled quickly. The process is painless and professional. But the Adopt a Horse program is not without some concern. Gene Nunn is well aware of the problems.
We aren't known widely enough to get the animals out to people that we require in our reduction program. It's slow. It's starting to bog down to a certain amount because people naturally want young animals. The older stallions are the big problem. Older mares, a lot of people will take them for breeding purposes and whatnot, to raise colts or this type of thing. But the older stallions, nobody wants them.
Until recently, the future of the unadoptable animal was bleak. But here on the Cary Ranch in Alturas, California, many unadoptable horses find their home on the range. Over 150 wild horses roam the 10,000-acre Cary Ranch sanctuary. They are the old, the injured, those that nobody wanted. The ranch was the first sanctuary of its kind in the country. It offers resource managers a tool to help speed up the adoption program. Peter Carey has had an affection for the Mustang since childhood.
When I was 8 or 10 years old, we had 2 or 3 wild horses that were brought out of Arizona that rode out with some cattle we bought that were captured back there in the late 30s. And we brought those horses to California and broke those horses, and we used those horses on our cattle ranch for, 10, 12 years until they got too old to ride, and then we just put them out to pasture and got younger horses. And so I've always had an affection for the wild horses, and we just had a good feeling towards having those wild horses on the ranch. I got involved in the wild horse program with Jim Clapp, a neighbor down the road. So Jim and I had thought up the idea of a sponsorship program that some of these older horses that the BLM and the Forest Service couldn't adopt out, rather than seeing them destroyed, trying to give a home to those animals. It makes me feel good to go out and look at these animals every day.
Jim Clapp is a director of the International Society for the Protection of Mustangs and Burros.
We started this sanctuary in hopes that there was enough concerned people in the country to maybe had the means but didn't have the facilities to care for a wild horse, and that's kind of what this thing is all about.
People throughout the United States sponsor the horse or the burro. We charge a $38 fee per month per animal. The cattle are put out on allotments, and they're controlled, and all the wildlife out there are controlled to one extent or another. They're all managed. And so at present time, the only animal out there that's not managed is the wild horse. Majority of the horses that we have are old or crippled horses, and that seems to be what people really want. If there isn't a place for these unadoptable horses to go, they're going to be shot.
While the Wild Horse and Burro Act provide for the humane disposal of those excess Mustangs, both the BLM and the Forest Service prefer the adoption alternative. But adoption, well, that takes people to make it work. Adopting a wild Mustang carries a recognition of the responsibility and the cost to the potential adoptee. Adoptee parents must have the room and facilities to provide good care for their horses. There are transportation costs governed by the distance one must travel. There are veterinary fees and feeding costs. Breaking a Mustang to ride is another point the foster parent needs to consider. And then there are the follow-up inspections made by the agencies to ensure that the animals are not abused. An inspection is a big job for Gene Nunn and his staff.
We do follow-up on all of the horses adopted in our district twice a year. We go around, check on the horses, see that they're being cared for, see if their facilities are in good condition. We try here in Susanville to match horses with the people when they come to pick them up. Horses are like people. Every one of them have a different personality. We've got one family out here not very far out of Susanville that took a 2-year-old stud, and in 3 days, why, all 3 of their kids was riding him at one time. So you don't do that with every horse, but there are horses you can do that with. It depends on the individual.
The Blevins family met all requirements for adopting the horse they named Deputy. And it wasn't long after that Deputy showed signs that he could trust these strange creatures that walked upright. Doc Blevins will never forget those first impressions.
When we got to the corrals, it was quite a thrill for us to see the young stallions. Of course, it's a lot different than a domestic horse. The idea of accepting part of the West as it used to be, we were really very excited about this bag of horse flesh that had bones sticking out and possibly making him into a a little butterball that we can really call our own. When we talked to our friends about adopting a wild horse, there were a lot of skeptics. We were somewhat skeptic also until we actually saw some of the BLM cowboys using the wild horses in their work, their everyday work. I had visions of this wild horse running off with my 11-year-old son down the road and never seeing either one of them again. But the horse didn't seem to mind that at all. And if you had to put it all in one statement, it would have to be something like having a piece of the Old West in your backyard.
Critics of the Mustang management program are concerned about its cost to the public. They range from moderate to high, depending on the luck of the roundup and the ease of adoption. We may have to bite the bullet, so to speak, and accept these short-term costs to provide long-range environmental benefit. And we might remind ourselves that it's an investment returned to the American people. For each of us with a desire and inclination, there is the opportunity to share a unique adventure in resource management. Through our participation and support of wild horse management, the American Mustang will continue to exist in the stable and diverse balance that constitutes a healthy environment.
Most of us will never get to see a wild horse galloping across the landscape, or have the thrill of seeing an arrogant but noble Mustang stallion standing on the horizon. But through our belief in conservation, we can be assured of the continuation of the survival of these outlaws. Probably one of the most beautiful, graceful animals to ever set foot on the American grasslands. See you in the high lonely.